Visit us for updates and shows at affinityextra.co.uk.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Xtra.
We must expose this tragedy for what it is and make it clear that fighting sexual violence is our ground as feminists and anti-racist and not on the fascist right.
Are going to do absolutely nothing about the grooming gang epidemic because they don't want to offend the Muslim community.
Yeah, people, this is your boy here, Roger Moore here, on Affinity Xtra, celebrating God's music of Black Roger. I am going on alongside my co-host, my main host, the main dude himself, MisterMarkGee, who is hosting a very peculiar show on this station, a very show which goes against what we tend to do in our spaces, in our Christian spaces, which is talk beyond what you see and actually look at things from an ideological perspective.
I thought you were going to rap there. Look beyond what you see and look at the ideologies and the philosophies. If you know what I mean.
Sure. No. It's right. But you know, you can tell.
Actually, speaking of rap, we're going to do something like a rap today.
We're going
to watch a battle. We're going to watch a
battle.
battle.
We're watching battles, but I don't know about the rapping part, man. You know what I'm saying?
No, but it won't be a rap battle, but it will be a battle of
wits.
A battle of ideology.
Ideology.
About our ideology. We're going to look back to a topic that we discussed, a very serious topic that we discussed previously.
Very serious.
Go on the YouTube channel in case you haven't seen. It's about the grooming scandals.
Yeah, man.
Today I thought that we look, and I think moving forward, I think it'll be good for us to do this. We're going to take one topic, we're going to see it from a left-wing source, and then we're going to see it from a right-wing source to see how they talk about a particular issue.
Okay.
And you can also see the ideological undergird behind what they are saying. And then for us, trying to be neutral, Roger, trying to be neutral. That's like me trying to fly.
Opinionated, but anyway, go. Me?
So him trying to be neutral is like me trying to fly. It will never happen. But anyway, what we're going to try to do is just look objectively at the arguments and see the merits and the demerits. Because at the end of the day, I'll keep on saying till heaven comes, we are human and we need to learn to understand each other. And we need to learn to agree, to disagree in a world that is so, which is fueled by division. Don't you agree?
Okay,
I think division seems to be like the thing. And I think we need to learn to understand each other. You know what, Roger? I actually have a dream that one day, I'll put it out there, we have someone from the right and the left that come together and they chat in a very civil way. Like a far right figure, maybe not a far right, but like a center right figure and a center left on a particular issue which they're very passionate, but to do it in the spirit of civility.
Bro, in our communities, you get your uncle and I get my uncle. I think there'll be a far right, far left thing going on there. And he just thought about it. He goes, yeah, it would be.
All right, so guys,
save.
We're talking about the grooming scandal. Just to bring up to speed,
cool.
More details on the previous episode. Check it out.
We broke it down.
Check it out.
Yeah.
There's a grooming scandal. In case you're living under the rock in the UK, the government have been challenged to form a national inquiry because they see a lot of leaders from various political persuasions are pleading with the government to form a national inquiry. The government has resisted, saying that the inquiries will be locally based, arguing that to do a national inquiry, which means the outcome will wait till, say, 2031, and they want to see justice now. And so the thing about holding to a particular ideological bias is that you will see one particular issue but in a different way, and today we will show you how that looks like. So I'm going to show you we're going to look at two Instagram posts, one right wing post from GB News on Instagram, and then one left-wing post from Novara Media, a left-wing post. The same topic, but they give a interesting perspective. And again, it's for us to be as neutral as possible and just look at the merits of the argument and also the demerits as well, because humans are flawed. So even if someone is saying something right, unless you're Jesus, no one's perfect. There's always what's the word I'm looking for, Roger? You know the thing when you're driving and you can't see blind spots. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah?
cool. Yeah.
So we all have blind spots. And I think this is why I like talking to people like Roger, who I might disagree with, because it might be a blind spot that I do not see.
Yeah.
And it actually understanding that we don't have blind spots and hearing other perspectives is a means, not that we can all agree on one thing and sing kumbaya, but learn to understand each other. And, it's all about understanding and agreeing to disagree in an agreeable way. So that's enough for the introduction. We're going to go straight
into it, man. Okay, guys, right. So hopefully on the screen you'll be able to see what we're about to do. Brilliant. There you are.
So here is GB
his
News.
face is like...
Yeah. So this is GB News, and this is a reel of Patrick Chris's.
You even know his name?
Well, it's just right there on the post.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Patrick Chris's on his view on this grooming scandal. Let's go.
Are going to do absolutely nothing about the grooming gang epidemic because they don't want to offend the Muslim community. Now, I want to warn you, in fact, I need to warn you, that we are discussing child sexual abuse, and I need to say to you that this is going to contain some very distressing content, including quite graphic details of child sexual exploitation and violence.
Guys, viewer discretion is advised. Yeah, viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, but can I just comment on how he started in the whole thing?
Straight, yeah, go on.
He's gone straight in sledgehammer that he's put out there that child exploitation and Muslim Islam is the same thing.
No,
he's not saying that.
No.
But he set the scene.
Roger, we're trying to be neutral here.
We're trying to be neutral. We're trying to be neutral. Okay. Sorry. Forgive me, guys.
Today,
we're neutral.
Today we're doing about the merits and the demerits.
Oh, right. Cool.
Right?
Sorry,
We're not here to attack. We're here to analyze.
So GBN knows as much as I do watch it. It is triggering.
So it is. I ain't gonna lie. So GB, this guy straight out the bat is saying that the Labour Party and the Labour government are not going to look into this issue and even form a national inquiry simply because they do not want to upset the Muslim vote. Let's carry on.
The election, Jess Phillips, Labour's Jess Phillips, was running her mouth off.
We're a year on from the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. Years and years worth of evidence. Rishi Sunak is doing nothing. And today, exactly what happened in Rochdale is happening in every single part of our country.
Well, now that same Jess Phillips is in a position of power at the Home Office, and she has just rejected a national inquiry into rape gangs. Well, why do we think that is? I mean, I've got a little theory.
Yeah, go on, just watch him.
Okay, so that's Rochdale Police Station there, and that was what appeared to be, anyway, Muslim men who were egging it and doing all sorts of stuff there in the wake of the alleged Manchester Airport incident. So I think that Labour might be a little bit afraid of aspects of the Muslim community. And I think to that I say, though, you're pathetic. Because when you read reports about a girl as young as 13 being gagged and gang raped, in other cases, men would have their names on a list by a door, and then they went inside and they'd rape a child and they'd put a tick by their name and they would pay it off at the end of the month. A girl is believed to have been killed, cut up, and put in kebabs before presumably being fed to members of the British public. These people are monsters, all right? But the Tories are, unfortunately, just as guilty as the Labour Party, because Kemi Badenoch came out and called for a national inquiry, all right? But then the Tories themselves actually did refuse an inquiry several years ago. They had 14 years to try to get this stuff right. Now, I don't actually think either of them care. They've not demonstrated that the people of Rotherham, Rochdale, Keighley, Oldham, Oxford, Aylesbury, Newcastle, Blackpool, they've not demonstrated to them that they care, have they, really? We made a massive deal over the infected blood scandal. More than 30,000 people in the UK were given treatments for infected with HIV, hepatitis C or Hep B. At the post office scandal, 900 sub-postmasters were prosecuted. But right across the country, Pakistani men have been raping thousands of mostly vulnerable young working class white girls for decades. It was a bigger national scandal than anything else, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's time to have a full, independent national inquiry. Labour are going...
Okay, cool. What are we meant to be doing with that now? What are we meant to be doing that? What, are we looking at the other side first, or are we gonna chop that off?
So let's talk about that one.
Yeah,
then
cool.
we'll talk about that,
Yeah,
and
cool.
then compare and contrast.
Cool.
Right? So look at the use of language there, the blatant use of language.
Okay.
He is accusing the Labour Party of sweeping this under the rug or hiding their faces from the issue simply because they are beholden to the Muslim vote. Also notice his use of language in the way that he's describing the perpetrators. And by the way, if they're wrong, they're wrong.
Yeah.
But he describes them as Pakistani men.
That's national. That's one area. Bro, that's
And also he doesn't fail to, he has no qualms, very brave, to describe these men as Muslim men. So this is a conservative commentator on these issues. He is suspecting that the reason why the government are not doing it is because they're beholden to the Muslim vote. And it is quite evident across all our elections that ethnic minorities, including Muslims, blacks, whatever, tend to vote more Labour than anything else. And so, in fact, Labour, I think, has more Muslim members of parliament than any other political party, etc. This is obviously a point I would assume that the government will flatly deny and assert that the reason why they do not want to form a national inquiry is because they want to speed up the process of bringing these people to justice. Let's objectively break this down, Roger. But what I will begin by saying is conservatives believe in... I saw one conservative commentator in America saying, we do not live in a multicultural society. We believe in a multi-ethnic society. Let me qualify what he means by the differences.
Go.
Multi-ethnic society means that in as much as there's varied ethnicities within a given society, that there's one set of values which all citizens live under. Critics of the multicultural experiment would say that we actually live in a country that is quite frankly no longer a country, and that the cultures, different cultures, they live in silos, have their own rules and stuff like that, that there is not that sense of cohesion, a national cohesion. In fact, the question what it means to be British, some would argue, is a difficult one to answer given the situation that we are in. And the reason why a conservative commentator or parliamentarian will jump on topics like this is to give evidence that the way we have sort of formed our society is not working. You know, the sense that we all live in our own individual silos and no one really knows what it means to be British. That we... So we're not integrated. Some would argue this is lack of integration. This is a clash of cultures. What do you think about that?
And, you know, and to be honest, there's an interesting viewpoint because I never really look at things from multi-ethnic or multicultural. But
I never had that before, but that's something that came across.
It is a very valid point because you could say multi-ethnic communities are communities of lands that have been taken from indigenous people. For example, USA is a multi-ethnic country because being American is a thing. Australia is a multi-ethnic country You know what I'm saying? Even though they got indigenous people there,
they're natives and then they're other cultures.
The arguments that are having in New Zealand is down to multi.
Watch our previous episode about the haka chanting member of parliament in New Zealand.
So you can have multi-ethnic communities in communities. And South America is something that I would like to see, but they like to look into a bit more, because I think places like Argentina, even Argentina, multi-ethnic, because they're not native.
And Brazil. Yeah.
These are people running the country who never originated in that country. So you see that they're almost bringing on a Brazilian identity, but really they are Portuguese descent. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But then when you look at multicultural communities, and you come into Birmingham, everyone's running with their belief systems. They're British, but they're British and black. The culture is still very, very important. And
but then the question is, what about the sense of cohesion, the sense of nationhood? Would you argue that has been lost in this country?
I would prefer a multicultural cultural system. Yeah, I believe the American. I see a lot of black Americans that are my age group now, talk differently to me, because obviously they got more of they grew up first being American. They see themselves, I'm American, and they find that and my friend tells me don't listen to him, but there's a Nigerian comedian who talks about being a Nigerian American. He feels like we're treated differently to British Nigerians. You know what I'm saying? And whatsoever. If you're born in Britain, you're seen more as Nigerian as if you're born in America. There's something about America which takes you over, and you're American before you, whatever your history is, and. That is.
But let me dig into that. But what if? So you prefer a multicultural society? And by the way, I'm being devil's advocate. I'm not showing my. I'm not showing my bias. But what if there's a culture clash? Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
We talked about this last time. This is no disrespect. This is the truth. In our Western democracies, which is over time being undergirded by Judeo-Christian values. What has been the rule of the day is, if you want to get married, this is the number of people you marry at one time. And now it's evolved to homosexual relationships, but nevertheless, this is the number of people you marry. Now, I am not offending anyone when I say this. This is something that you could hear from a Muslim, and they will tell you, and it is true. Muslim men are allowed to marry more than one wife. Now, how can you live? So what I'm saying is that is a culture clash of sorts, because the law stipulates that it's one person for one spouse, right? Right? And so it can't be. So that is a simple illustration of how cultures collide and cannot coincide, that one has to trump the other. We've heard instances, I don't know if they're completely true, about certain areas of the UK where there's a majority number of Muslims who want to instill Sharia law. Something that a lot of mainstream society will strongly object. They believe in your right to worship your religion, but to then sort of take, to kind of go, but they won't go as far as to allow such practice that a part of our country would be under Sharia law, because that is contrary to what has been. So I want to give this is what a conservative would see as a concern.
You're waking up something there, because you got to be really, really careful how we've entwined multi-ethnic hybrid communities around the world, and how it's connected to Christianity, because that has actually blocked also. It's like you get connected to the corruption of that establishment. So the American growth is you wave the flag and it's and they say God. We sing God in our national anthem. But really and truly, it's man. It's powers. It's got nothing to do with God. They just chose a viewpoint and select what they want. Is it King Henry VIII?
Yeah.
He said bondage Catholics. I would create my own system so I could do what I want. You know, he did it blatantly out there, but I still think that spirit is still carrying on with it. So for me, I hear your viewpoint in terms of a moral point in terms of marriage. I hear you.
Yeah, but what if the cultures are clashes? Let me give you another example.
Okay, cool.
Let me give you another example. There's some Cool. Female circumcision. There's some African cultures who believe that when you're a woman, you get
correct.
Right? And they believe that is a custom that must be practiced because that's their culture.
That's the culture. Yeah.
No. Let me finish. Let me land. In Kenya, even within our tribes, we are. There's been much effort to make sure that practice is nullified.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, cool. That's fine.
So is it fair to say so okay, if I come to a land and I aim to do life here, there's some cultural customs
which you take on board.
There's some, let me land. There's some there's some cultural customs that are not compatible.
Yeah.
Or there's some cultural practices or some cultural ideas. For example, in this country, you know, I know feminism is sometimes a swear word in some places, but we live in a day and an age where
equality.
The idea of a man is better or more valued than a woman is shunned upon. But what happens if you bring people into this society who do not share that value, who see women as second-class citizens, and worse still, we bring. I'm just pushing this argument further. We'll go to the left,
cool,
and we'll show. But look at it here. If we as a society we believe that men and women are equal, because that's something that's a consensus that we have come over time. Obviously, we also the West also has its history of women objectification, and you could say by and large it happens today in our music, etc. But by and large, our society, we believe and we assert that men and women are equal and have equal status, and women are not second-class citizens. What happens then if you bring people who are of a culture that believe the contrary, and worse still, the people that come from that background are so many that come here that we do not have there is not enough time or resources to integrate them and let them assimilate into society in such a way that informs them this is a new world where that thinking remains over there. In this country, you will regard a woman as your equal, even though that is not something that you are accustomed to from the country you are from. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we bring 1 million people here to immigrate, if they have different attitudes to women, to the mainstream agreement, which is men and women are equal, that would cause a culture clash, and that could cause a myriad of problems, would it not?
That's culture clash in church, because not all churches are down with that, bro. So I would say you know what I mean, and you know that, you know what I'm saying, some women are still not allowed to preach in churches, you know that. That's in this country.
That's about function. That's a particular function in a particular. Wait. I don't think that's a valid. Rebuttal. I don't think that's a valid rebuttal because that is talking about a particular office in the church. That has by no means.
What about teaching?
No. Hear me out. Let me land. Yeah. But them being barred from that office does not mean that they will be
barred from differently.
No, they won't be treated differently outside the four walls of the church. It's just that those who hold that view are just like, this is just for men. But in no way does that mean that there's a distinction between how a Christian man treats a Christian? Because I've been to those kind of churches. That doesn't mean that they're going to treat women differently. It is I don't think that's a valid example. Although there are some extremes where I mean, say for example,
you drafted the extreme, so I pulled that extreme. So what?
But that's not a valid. That's not a valid.
Okay,
that's not a valid. That's not a valid one. That's not a valid one.
Okay, from when I was a youth, yeah, I realized there's been a breakdown of Christian values in this country, yeah. So
so could it be partly
what
due
I
to
don't
this
like, and
immigration?
what I do not like, is non-Christian, blatantly non-Christian people waving the flag of Christian values, where they're generationally just not on it. So stop bringing my faith into the argument, yeah? Because
that's actually the argument of the left.
You know what I'm saying?
We're actually getting to the argument of the left.
Cool,
That's a good point. That's a good point. That is a good point.
By the way, I'm a Green Party people. I'm Green Party.
I mean, look at
the Green Party. Yeah, he's far left. The colours in it.
Wait.
Far left.
Roger, you have brought a massive point. You have brought a massive point.
All right, let's.
No. I want to echo that.
Yeah, okay,
I want to echo that because I'm supposed to be neutral here. I really seriously want to echo that. This is you have said something very important, and I want to echo it again. There's some conservative commentators who do not care about God, who do not care about Jesus. But for the sake of the conservative agenda, will hop on the Jesus flag as long as it serves the agenda. To that I say yes and amen. To that is true. That is yes and amen. You know, this Americans.
Do you know who does that?
You know the Americans.
Americans are bad for that.
Americans, God, country, and guns. But they might not. But that doesn't mean they have. But that doesn't mean that all of them have saving faith in Christ. That it's not a relational. It's not a relationship thing. It is rather just purely political. It's rather their Christianity is merely political. It's not a personal relationship that is about growing in Christ, but rather it is to further their political and cultural agenda. So that, yes and amen. I have seen that. Yes, that is true. But
I got example of this. Before we go, get example, classic example.
That is true though.
Our best friend Kemi Bandicott.
Bandicott
turns around and says, the Muslim Nigerians, that area, I don't see as Nigeria. It's just the Christian side of Nigeria. It's Israel. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going, girl, are you even Christian? You know what I'm saying? How can
from what I've read, she's agnostic.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why are you bringing up people's faiths when it suits you in an argument, Kemi? Come and tell Kemi, come for me, man. Come and tell me.
Roger.
You know what I'm saying? Come and do it. I might not be Elon Musk.
You haven't dealt with my point.
Yeah.
You haven't. So that is true.
Yeah.
Let's echo that again. No, let's echo that again and circle back to the point that I made. Because I need you to react to it. What happens if people of different cultural values come together? I'm giving you an example. No, I'm giving you an example.
You respect each other, and then whoever's ways wins. I always say, as a Christian, and you got religion, I can chill with my brethren,
Okay.
I'm chilling with my brethren now, we play football together, and he's Muslim and I'm Christian, You know what I'm saying? We play football together. Now, in our primal, no, that makes it sound behind it. But like they say, yo, get him saved, preach to him, witness to him, whatever. So I'm a dude that says like this, oh, you guys believe this? Okay, cool. And we're good friends and whatever. I want him to come, something different about Roger. As much as they say about his, Roger, his Christian thing, why are you like this? I'd rather he does that and we just commune together. And I say, yo, brethren, I like the way you guys do business. What you mean? Do you guys do insurance? Now we don't believe in that. Oh, is that how you guys get rid of? Yeah, you know, shop over there, yeah? The temple buys that for, and then we get jobs in there and whatever. Oh, that's a good practice, bro. And have that two-way conversation rather than going, yo, your thing is a fallacy. Your thing is, but like the communities grow. They did that.
But okay, So thank you that we've circled back to this. Let me get to the bottom line.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Let me get to the bottom line, because I watch conservative. We're gonna get into the left side, but a lot of conservatives say that in terms of race, say for example, that we shouldn't discriminate on the basis of skin. And I think across all, unless you're like on the extreme far right, I think everyone agrees with that. No matter like in terms of skin. But let me get to the bottom line of the question, because there was a reason that I asked this, and I'm going to ask it because we're brave. Is it okay to say that in terms of values, there's some cultures, not races, cultures and customs that are better than others. Because if that is the case, should we then be wary of people who come with different cultural customs that are contrary to our values? I mean, is it fair to say that, for example, wait. Is it fair to say? Is it fair to say if I live in Mark land. In Mark land, I believe you should only have one wife. But because
in Wajaland,
wait. But because we become economic prosperous, there are many people from other cultures who are interested to migrate into my land. But in my land, Marco land, these are my values. Now, in as much as, and rightfully so, people want to come to greener pastures and prosperous, they have values that are contrary to mine. And so, would it be wrong for me to, number one,
enforce your rules?
No, wait. No, it's not about enforcing. It's not about enforcing. Just looking at it objectively, that in as much as we would like to get along, there is a difference with values. And then the question is, not enforcing, how do we then move on from there? That's it. Because if you come to my land, I don't want to change who I am. But if you don't want to change who you are, and I don't know. Now, to circle back to this issue, what the conservatives would argue, which they could be wrong, is the reason why we're seeing this scandal is because these people who are immigrating to this land perhaps might have different attitudes to women, and we're not being honest about it. Because I see this as the undergird. I see this as the ideological undergird behind this, that there's some cultural differences that are hard to reconcile. And so in a country where we are trying to do this multicultural experiment, they argue, to have people of different values, there is bound to be conflict of values, and that manifests in the ways such as this.
Okay, cool. I would say let's get to the. I would say no, and the thing is, you just open up.
I'm just amplifying the conservative argument.
Yeah. No, and I think that you're 100% right, and I feel that really it can be a circle. You see, so like I said the time before, is like you don't want your belief system to be changed, or you're emphasizing. I appreciate that, but the problem is 100 years, 150 years before, you've been changing everybody else's.
So this guy in history. It's true. Okay, fair enough. But then the people on the conservatives will say is,
that's none of my business.
No. So okay.
They said that wasn't me. That was my granddad.
So I'm conservative. I'm Marco Land. I believe in my values. And if you come to this country, you support my values. You come and rightfully say, but bro, you have a dark history where you actually imposed your thing on others. Yeah. And to that I say fair enough. Okay, Roger, wait. Roger, we're living in 2025. I am aware of my history. But here's where we are now. Now, in light of that history, does overcorrecting means that I can just let people come here and do whatever they like then? Because,
when do we stop looking back and look forward? But you can't look back. You can't not look back, and you got to have one eye in the past.
But what they would argue is, yes, we need to be aware of history, but not to the point that we overcorrect and start doing horrible things at the same time. I'll give you an example of what that looks like. This is a slight direction, and then we're going to go back to the grooming scandal, left against right. But let me give you another example of overcorrection and how it can actually do more harm than good. An example of this is DEI can be looked as an overcorrection. Let me land. We are aware of the fact that people of ethnic minorities and sexual minorities have been discriminated from the workplace. We know that. And it was bad. And it is wrong. Now, in a bid to kind of level the playing field, they have said that for a certain group that has been marginalized, we are going to relax the qualifications to kind of let them in, to kind of let more people in. But the problem is they might not, if they're not qualified, if that is the grade that you're supposed to pass, but we let people who get a lower grade let in, that might affect the competency of, say, the people that are getting into a job or a certain degree. Furthermore, someone would say DEI might look good in practice, but say, for example, in America, for example, affirmative action has been something that has happened over the years. DEI looks beautiful in by name, and the idea sounds great. Let's have more people of different backgrounds into our spaces. But say I am a black person working in Harvard University and I'm going about my business. The white folks will start thinking, oh, the reason why he's here is because he's a DEI candidate. And perhaps he got a lower grade. And the reason why they're kind of letting him in. And so they're thinking that I don't have right to be here, that somehow. So do you see how the overcorrection, the correction can be seen as an overcorrection and do more harm than good? I use that example. Let me finish.
Yeah.
I use that example to say that in overcorrecting historical wrongs, we actually might be doing more harm than good. And some would argue, and from that DEI example that I've just shown, there could be yes. History is history, and history is wrong, and we need to right the wrongs. But in a bid to do so, we can overcorrect in such a way that we might actually do more harm than good. And so here's how it looks like in this. Or Britain, yes, they abused people, colonization, racism, slavery, etc., etc., etc. Now we're going to turn a leaf and we're going to love everyone. But wait. And in a bid to make a distance from our past, who cares how much resources we have in our country? If 2 million people want to come to our country, hey, we do not have enough houses for them. Let's then let them in. After all, we are loving people. So there's that projection, and that's what happened with that. That could be argued about the immigrants thing, because we're looking back at who we are. So much so that we are overcorrecting. Now we have. I mean, immigration across the board. A lot of people would agree that the migrant crisis is a crisis, because we have a lot of people coming in here. They're in hotels, and so what I'm trying to say is, how can we correct without overcorrecting and doing more harm than good? Does that make sense? I've used the example with DEI, and I've used the example with immigration. If we hold to change this country of the atrocities that they made in the past, they will feel. I feel like there's a contingent of politicians who are aware of the historical past. And so much, which is good, but they would overcorrect in such a way that the country that they so love will suffer harm. And they, rather than even making progress, it will be one step back, it will look like, but it will actually be 2 steps backwards.
Okay, let me hit you with something wrong. Are you mixing overcorrection with compensation?
No. Overcorrection is not letting a billion people.
You know why? When I walk in at university and they look at me and they say, "Him got there, true, yeah." And what's your problem? Because my granddad was blocked to be here because of their skin color. So you tell you what, with your false position that's been put there because of not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, probably 8, probably 9, probably even 10 generations, 10 generations of going, I'm not saying left because it's left, or going that side of the meter, which way that side that meter is for you, So then when you come over to here, what everybody wants to do now, what the people on this side want to do now is stop there. Let's pretend like we have, but you already got the lead.
But
you have to compensate. You have to in everything like so. When you put too much in over there, you compensate.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm not saying the compensation is not nice. Compensation you'll be annoyed with. So if you feel bad with me getting a uni job just because I got a grade lower than you, I'm going, and what's your problem? I don't feel guilty about that, because end of this, so you never felt guilty. Your parents and your grandparents, your grandparents didn't feel guilty. Very few of them did. Couple did. I can't say all of them didn't. I say there was the ones that did said this isn't fair. You know what I'm saying? But they enjoyed the success right now, and this spirit is still there in our spaces, because you're right now black children, boys. It's a fact that came out the other day that we're 8 times more likely to be physically dealt with by the police. Whatever. We're 8 times more likely in 2025. Yeah, or a couple of years ago, probably when the stats come together. Yeah, right. So with that stat, everybody's going, in our spaces, in our churches, in our cathedrals, in our places, going, we all together praising the Lord. This is so fantastic, and this is so great. Oh, don't worry if you have to go out there and more likely get beaten up with your sons. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not because I'm making it up. It's the facts. It's not no 1976 fact. It's the facts of the facts.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, okay, there's a lot of things that we have to do as my community, stop the music foolishness and certain things which I'm being blatantly on about. But also, you enjoy the benefits of what your generational success has been, which means that you don't get stopped by the police like me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I know there's two sides. That's my flip side.
And I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, and I hear you.
Yeah.
My counter argument to is that allow me to get out my neutral space.
You can't.
Allow me to get out my neutral
counting,
because okay, so you wouldn't mind. That would be your rebuttal to anyone who looks at you funny if, say, you are a student and you go in to some DI program.
Yeah.
But I will say this. What about the black folks who say this? I want to get into a university based on my own, because there are a few.
Yeah. There are.
Black people are not.
Black people are not.
My dad, praise God for my dad. He's a professor at the University of London. He did not get anything. He worked hard.
He worked hard.
He did not start here in London, but he got there based on his hard work. And there is a pride there. There is an esteem there where he says, look, I got into Oxford, I got into Harvard because I belong here, not because I was given a foot up because of historical atrocities. So you got to also think that's a caveat. But anyway, we're digressing. We're here on Affinity Xtra, red against
15 minutes left.
Now, let's look at the right wing one. Let's look at the right wing one.
Let's get it. Sorry guys, we're the waiting times.
Let's read this. So this is now a right wing reaction, a right wing post over the same issue. Now this is a carousel post, an article. I'm going to read it out, and then we're going to break it down. So, okay. So the conservative, just to bring you up to speed, we've seen the conservatives saying that the reason why Labour are not pushing for an independent inquiry is because they're beholden to the Muslim vote and they don't want to upset the Muslim vote. We have gone at lengths discussing that, and now we are going to look at the merits of. We're going to look at what the left say about this. Very, very interesting. It's an article that I'll read out, and we're going to break it down.
Go. Right, go.
This is an article by Dalia Gabriel.
Don't talk to the mic.
The far right don't care about sexual violence. They are just trying to gain political power. So let's see what they say. The quote-unquote Asian grooming gangs, whereby groups of an exclusively Asian men are perceived to be preying exclusively on adolescent white girls, began in the far right many years ago. In 2006, Nick Griffin, the leader of the fascist British National Party, made a speech claiming these 18, 19, and 25-year-old Muslims, Asian Muslims, are seducing and raping white girls in this town right now. It's part of their plan for conquering countries. Wow. The continual circulation of this trope of equating sexual violence against white girls with national security culminated in years-long investigation in the Times by Andrew Norfolk on what became known as Asian grooming gangs, and we could see even the Conservatives using similar language. This was a seminal moment as it involved the mainstreaming of far-right talking points. The idea that child sexual exploitation is perpetrated mainly by Asian men who only target white girls, and the reason this has been covered up is because of political correctness gone mad, right? As has historically been the case from transatlantic slavery to the British Empire, sexuality and gender have been instrumental mechanisms through which racial oppression has been mediated and justified. I know you have a lot to say on that one. Let's carry on. Well, you already heard it. Yeah. So let's be clear. Child sexual exploitation, or CSC for short, is endemic in our society. So all across the board, people agree. From the top echelons of media to religious institutions to the streets of Rochdale. The problem runs deep, actually religion, including church. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
The other day, man.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
And media, TV, Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. You know what I mean?
Come on.
And these are not brown people
the
at all.
Left are preaching
you know
now. The left are preaching now. The problem runs deep, with decades-long cover-ups being a regular feature of almost all major child sexual exploitation scandals. The stories from the northeast of England are deplorable, amen, and tell us there is a serious crisis when it comes to the infrastructure available for sexual violence victims. The impact of austerity, the left are very anti-austerity for sexual. The impact of austerity in the northeast has seen a decimation of women's support services in this region, leaving women and girls with nowhere to go when they experience abuse. Interesting, very interesting. However, the far right do not care about sexual violence. What do they care about? They care about weaponizing the understandable and necessary outrage we all feel when reading about abuse to mainstream their ideas and position themselves as legitimate participants in the political sphere. Not only are the ranks of the far right teeming with perpetrators of sexual violence, but not only are the ranks of the far right teeming with perpetrators of sexual violence, they have no interest in building the kind of society in which women are safe and empowered. Crucially, the framing of CSC as a problem of race and religion rather than structural misogyny does nothing to help the survivors of child abuse they claim to be defending. In short, the narrative the far right have built that CSC exclusively perpetrated by Asian men who target white girls out of racial hatred, and that this was covered up by authorities for fear of seeming politically incorrect is a myth. Wow, strong assertion. The main in-depth investigation into CSC scandals in towns like Rotterdam and Rochdale, the 2014 J report, actively went looking for evidence to support such claims because of how entrenched the far-right explanations became. Instead of the investigations hold a far more familiar story, survivors of sexual violence not being taken seriously by institutions that are allegedly supposed to protect them, particularly the police. The report noted the kind of language used by the police and social services to describe the affected girls, many of whom were working class and are in social care, are asking for it, risk-fueled, drawn to it, and prostituting herself. This is a story of most women and girls who have found themselves in the unfortunate situation of seeking institutional help when they experience violence. So it's actually talking about the perception that if you were born to gain anything from the abuse, be it an iPhone or the security of marriage, then you deserve what you got and could not be helped. This is intensified by the class economic class position of the girls in question, which not only left them more vulnerable to abuse, but made them much easier to ignore when they came forward. So, issue of class, interesting. This reality is inconvenient for Tommy Robinson, and his new
UKIP.
cadre UKIP, which of course have no interest in making these kinds of feminist structural changes that could actually resist sexual violence. They would much rather use SC victims as political footballs in their quest for credibility and clout. So they're right. You guys are clout chasing. They want us to believe that CSC is a brown man's crime, or at least that CSC is perpetrated by brown men. It's somehow worse than abuse perpetrated by white men. Guys, abuse is abuse. They want us to believe that there are no BME victims of CSC, and that brown and black men are running riot in a country governed by a nanny state afraid of being seen as racist. Both fantastical claims given that the children of color are most vulnerable to child abuse and that brown and black men are the most heavily policed demographics in the UK. The centrality of sexuality and gender in the far-right vision of gaining political power cannot be understated. It is evident in the fact that Robinson's entry into the party politics is through the angle of grooming gangs. Furthermore, the bringing together of ideas around the Brexit betrayal and grooming gangs through Robinson's rape of Britain frame is showing this as a bit of mainstream power well beyond any specific cases of sexual violence. We must expose this tragedy for what it is and make it clear that fighting sexual violence is our ground as feminists and anti-racist and not of the fascist right. We must be bold in our vision of a world without gender-based violence and without racism. The fight against Robinson and his fascist politics must have feminism at its heart.
No more budget. That's definitely
a lot there. A lot to extrapolate there.
And to say, guys, I'm not saying we've said this, but we emphasize that there is a both ends are condemning what's going on.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, they're both.
The motive is where it's being questioned here. The motive of some of the people, and I think that's just life in general. I think some people, you have to check their motives. But if, for me, two sides are both saying the same thing, we want to deal with this situation. The only problem is when you have the wrong motive, when it comes to the action plan, your motive is to, it's like this, when racism, when the Black Lives Matter community situation blew up, the motive of a number of black people, including the actual organization Black Lives Matter, was almost a case of we've got to destroy them for what they did to us. But the motive should be we want unity, and I felt like we never had enough voices in this space to say, okay, we need to educate and push forward to unity, but also be mindful that we don't do the same things again. You know what I'm saying? But we need to get out of this space and we need to change things because it is not a level playing field. Things need to change, but not to change that we'll do the same to you what you've done to us. You know what I'm saying? I remember my teacher did years ago when we was at primary school. He did an illustration. I think apartheid was on there, and at the time, but when I was younger, apartheid was going on in South Africa, and admittedly, the teaching system up here made apartheid in southern states of America the racist areas, not realizing what was going on around me. But the teacher got everybody with brown eyes and said to us when we went outside for play, said, everybody with brown eyes are the bosses. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And there was me, there's another Asian guy in my class, but I was the only black guy, but brown eyes is about 5 or 6 of us. You know, and we kind of like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Kind of said, yeah, we're the bosses, man, and start beat up 2 people, but we was going around like bossy, we was getting him we was being unreasonable because we had the power. You know what I'm saying? So it's like understanding that it's okay when you're being oppressed, but when you've been given the power, and we've seen that in countries like Uganda, and we've seen in countries when the transition stage from empire rule over into the, I wouldn't say self-rule, but that start of the process of that. It can go to one stream and the other.
It can be very turbulent,
turbulent, and people with the wrong motive for the right cause. I watched a article video today, ironically, not because of this, showing an interview with Idi Amin. And his reasoning for the Asian community to come out of the country. When he first took charge of the country, they actually were cool with him because he never had that vibe. But he was saying his motive is that Africans need to be taking the roads, and they were running 90% of the trade. Like himself.
And their solution was to chase them all out.
So for me, himself and Mugabe actually was more detrimental to the country when changing was correct. Changing and giving their version of it. Their version of it was not thinking of the community while we're there. Why the Indians are here? The Indians were brought there a generation before, 2 generations before, to build things for the British Empire. Yes, they used them to put there. So yeah, but so let's work out a way. But because of his motive, it became more destructive. And this is the thing: is if the far right get in charge, their motive. I'm not saying in charge, but I don't think they will get in charge. But it's a motive that no matter if you say, yo, we only want one wife, we have Christian values, but you have values, but you pick out what you want. You're saying,
what I like about this article, a few themes are just as we go to a close.
Sorry.
A few themes. No, this is
it's a great.
It's an interesting. We're supposed to be neutral. It's an interesting article. It's given us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
A few themes that come up that stood out that I didn't even think that we need to think about. Sorry, a few themes that we need to think about. Class. It's talking about how white working class girls are regarded by the authorities. I thought that was interesting. I also thought that it was interesting that, much like the example of Idi Amin and Robert Mugabe, it could be that these extreme far-right figures, quote-unquote, are... And that's actually what usually happens. They're exploiting a valid issue to gain more clout. Is actually what they're saying. So say, for example, unfortunately, I don't. By the way, an extreme example of this is Hitler. The reason he said he recognized that there was an economic issue in Germany. The only problem is his solution was to demonize the Jews. And obviously we know the evil that came as a result. So recognizing an issue is good. The solution was bad. And what these left-wing people are saying is that the far right are exploiting a very valid issue which every human being agrees on for their own agenda.
Agenda, that's the one.
And so which then begs the question for everyone across the spectrum, what's your agenda? When you're talking about a particular issue, why do you care? Why? Because what these people are saying is, these people don't really care about this women. They're just using this issue as, again, is a phrase that I used last time, political opportunism, to kind of gain more momentum. And I think that's quite interesting. The issues of class, and it's also saying that the feminists are usually more on the left. They're saying we should be the ones owning this. We should be the ones owning this issue. We are feminists. We are pro-women. We are for advancing women's rights. Not those far-right, quote-unquote, thugs out there. They do not care. They do not care that we do.
Should be talking to us, not to them guys. And them the guys who are doing all the noise and being listened to while they've been barling about this for the past decades.
So I'll end it this way. The left, the Novara media have given me something to think about. What is the motive, right? But then also the question for the left would be, what is their motive? They want to advance an anti-capitalist agenda. And so they would say the structures that be, such as capital, they would include capital. But that's where like a capitalist would agree. Someone who believes in the free market, they would try to persuade anyone who believes in the free market that it is precisely because we live in a free market economy, along other factors, that we have the problems where we are. And thus, the solution is this socialist, communist utopia. You know what I mean? But they're left, so understandably.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't go that far. But what the article has given me room for thought is, why would anyone talk about a particular issue? What would be their motive? Now, with Tommy Robinson, he either genuinely cares about his country, or he's got another agenda. And then, but also, in as much as this is a left-wing article, some of they seem to care, but also they have their own agenda. They also want to advance. So it's a battle of ideas. Yeah. So it's like, it's just interesting, isn't it? That this is an issue that people are looking at, and they see it for what it is, but it's a different lens with a different motive.
Yeah, most definitely. Word for that. That was a heavy duty show today, man. You know what I'm saying? That's heavy, man. No, most definitely, bro. Most definitely. But listen, guys, do plug into the app. We got an app going on there, so listen to the station. We got some amazing things going on, and do check us out on YouTube as well, because that's where you can look back at all the shows. You can sit back and just have it in the background, listen to all of them back to back. We have that over there in the show right now on one of our playlists. So guys, we're here to support conversation. Some great conversation, and that's what we're doing here.
This is Mark from Ideologies with my co-host Roger Moore. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Blessings, man.
Thank you for watching the content we're putting out. Listen, make sure that you are liking, subscribing, and following us on all our social channels, including patreon.com. Make sure you're finding us on there to support what we do so we can support you. And remember, guys, be extra.